a leader among states and a competitor among nations. That's always been our goal. Today, Pennsylvania's children share their strong roots with the children of Israel, in the hope that together they will find the strength to soar under the wings of peace. You have to play to win, to start with, and that's why we opened the office in Singapore, to play to win. Proudly, 2.5 million Pennsylvanians trace their roots to Ireland. Our knowledge-based industries are going to drive our economy into the 21st century. This is the high water mark. Here, Governor, Philadelphia. Here, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The finest ships in the world are built by Pennsylvania workers.
To Philadelphia!
Philadelphia! Yo, Philadelphia! I told you you'd have a great time in Pennsylvania.
They had their chance. They have not led. We will.
Welcome, America. There's absolutely no better place in this great country to begin the renewal of America's promise than in the cradle of democracy of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
You know I love Philadelphia. You know it's my favorite city. You know it is, right?
Good morning. Are you ready to go to work?
Take this one, put it right in that hole, right in there, all right? And today, in this awe-inspired setting, we stand in the shadow of our past and look toward America's future.
It's the governors of America that are really leading the reform of our society these days.
Governors, regardless of their political affiliation, have to practice the politics of what works.
Join us for the NGA 2000 here in State College. Don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball, Governor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have changed the rules. Microsoft's new CEO and President, Steve Ballmer.
Thank you, Governor. We've already enjoyed a great partnership with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
The Governor's Community Partnership for Safe Children presents the Pennsylvania Safe School Summit. Now, live from Dallastown, Pittsburgh, Williamsport, and Abington. Here's our moderator, Susan Rook.
Good morning and welcome to the first ever Safe Schools Summit in Pennsylvania.
You were bringing law enforcement, probation officers into the school. Was that met with any resistance from the parents of the good kids? And most of them are good. They want to go to school, want to learn. And if it was met with resistance, how did you deal with it?
Jerry, I think that would be a good question to you and followed by Ed.
There's been no resistance. Parents welcome safe schools.
We hope that you've been able to find some ideas that you can take to your own area. And once again, the time to act is now. Who's going to take the action? You are. Keep at it. Thank you.
What is the significance of this event and the fact that it is on the internet?
Well, first of all, it's an historic event for Pennsylvania to do a live program for this length of time. But what's really great is it worked together well to promote tourism, and it was one of the governor's 21 days of technology to focus on Pennsylvania's leadership in technology.
Hey, moms and daughters, get up on your feet. Let's see the groundhog this morning. God, this love is where we're meant.
A
Officials have already linked more than 24 deaths directly to the flooding today, Monday, January the 22nd, 1996.
From NBC News, this is Today with Brian Gumbel.
Flooding out there is terrible.
Terrible, and we'll be talking with the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Ridge, about the situation going on in that state.
I guess he's one of those who had problems in his home, right?
He had to move out. He spent the night in the police barracks. They moved the furniture upstairs.
Pennsylvania has been declared a disaster area. Its governor is Tom Ridge. This morning he's in Harrisburg, one of the hardest hit areas. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
What's the situation right now?
We have actually 58 counties for which we've asked disaster assistance.
Campaigning for a full recovery, Pennsylvania's Governor Robert Casey bounces back from a rare double organ transplant prompted by a life-threatening disease.
Governor Casey's remarkable story is the subject of our final profile in our series, Bouncing Back. December 21st, 1993. This is Governor Bob Casey's first day back to work, a major step in his long process of bouncing back. He had double transplant surgery last June. Last week at the Pennsylvania Governor's Mansion, Governor and Mrs. Casey told me about their fight against the disease that started all this, familial amyloidosis.
Put yourself in my position. You're dead-ended. There's no treatment, no cure. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, along comes a famous surgeon that says to you, if we transplant your liver, we can cure you.
On Close Up this morning, Tom Ridge. He's the Republican governor of Pennsylvania, often mentioned as a possible running mate for George W. Bush, and he'll welcome the Republican convention to his state later this month.
When you come to Philadelphia, we're going to drink beer and eat some cheesesteak sandwiches, and you go out to Hollywood and L.A., you're going to be eating tofu and drinking bottled water, so we'd rather have you in Philadelphia.
You know, I'd rather be in Philadelphia, given those choices.
Look forward to seeing you.
From the Republican National Convention. We begin with Governor Tom Ridge, the host governor of this convention. He was prominently mentioned. How close did you come to being the vice presidential nominee?
You'll have to ask Governor Bush.
You were on the short list.
That's what they tell me.
And you're a very close friend.
Very close friend, been friends for 20 years.
So the truth, did you want it?
It's a very attractive, very seductive idea, but I have two jobs that I've said publicly that I really enjoy doing. One's being governor of this great state, and my children at such an age now, 13 and 14, I think I got another job to do to get them through the next couple of years before I could entertain anything nationally.
It's a fear hanging over millions of Americans, the fear of simply getting sick.
I'd like to call Mrs. Connie Marcantonio now to present her statement.
Back in Pennsylvania, Connie Marcantonio is relying on more than hope.
We all know it's a crisis. It's been diagnosed to death. It's time long past to stop pointing with alarm at the problem and start doing something about it.
Invited to appear before a panel on health care reform, Connie took her complaints directly to Governor Robert Casey.
It seems to me that our country and state could do better.
I'm going to just reserve the right to ask you before the end of this week to do that very mean rendition of I Will Always Love You by... Huh? You do that, boy?
I tell you, I have to take that under advisement. Only if you do a duo.
No. We'll work that out.
Can we work that out?
We'll work that out.
If we want to do a duet, we'll try it.
The Whitney Houston of Pennsylvania, ladies and gentlemen, Governor Tom Ridge. We'll be back right after this.
It's Pennsylvania Week on QVC.
You are taking them on a tour of Pennsylvania, and many snapshots that they see, we want them to come and take a look at and enjoy with their families. The recreational possibilities are enormous.
Passing the so-called Ed Flex bill, which is going to give the states and the schools more flexibility in how they spend federal money. Is this a good step?
If we let the adults that are closest to the decision-making about their children, the parents and the teachers and the school boards back home, rather than the adults in Washington make decisions about how this money to be used, it would be a good thing for the children.
You have in your state a prescription drug program that's pretty similar to the one that the Democrats are proposing.
You want a voluntary program, you want the private sector involved, and you certainly want to give seniors choices.
Why is John McCain doing so well with independents and Democrats?
We got two heavyweights battling that. I couldn't help but think just for a moment that Jesse, Governor Ventura, was going to come off the top rope in that last session you had, because you see a very spirited battle going on. And I think one of the challenges that Senator McCain has is to remind himself that he's in a Republican primary. we're serious in this outreach, but after we win, we'll have to prove it by sustaining it through policy, both at the federal level and the state level.
Thank you very much, Tom Ridge, Governor of Pennsylvania. Back to you, Brian, up in the booth.
Chris Matthews, thanks.
You didn't just tumble off the turnip track. You've been around politics for a long while. Seniors going for Gore in Florida said in exit polling that they were scared by Governor Bush. Why would they be scared?
The medic scare and the Social Security scare does have some political traction. Hold on to your seat. It's going to be a close contest, a very narrow victory for George Bush.
Tom Ridge, who is the affable mayor, governor of the state of Pennsylvania, and he has been a big supporter of Texas Governor George W. Bush. After the second debate, he told me that he thought that Governor Bush had to spend more time in Pennsylvania.